for Sinn Féin and the people of this island. These elections provide an opportunity to increase our political strength to the point where our ultimate goal of a united Ireland becomes inevitable. And central to this campaign and to our core political beliefs is the protection of the most vulnerable members of our society. That's why Sinn Féin is opposed to austerity, regardless of whether it comes from London, Brussels or Dublin. We're facing a negative unionist alliance, which now includes the British Conservative Party and which is wedded to Tory austerity. But we remain firm in opposing this austerity agenda, protecting the vulnerable and taking power back from Westminster and putting it in the hands of our locally elected representatives. Our first speaker this morning needs no introduction. We say that a lot and then we go on to introduce them, but no matter. Martin has led our struggle for many years, the leader of our negotiating team, striving for the Republic proclaimed in 1916, leading the peace process and spearheading our opposition to austerity. So it's my pleasure and privilege to ask Deputy First Minister, Joint First Minister Martin McGuinness to say a few words. Go Míle America.
Well, a díomh agus tá fáilte romh agus tá ahas mór orm a bhéad seo le ar maidin. Gur mágad, Michelle. I too am delighted to be here at the ancient home of the O'Neills. A few years ago I was in Rome at a reception in the Irish Embassy, and one of the workers in the embassy informed me that just down from the embassy was the small church where the remains of Owen O'Neill and Red Hugh O'Donnell were buried. And I took a short walk down to the church. The people in charge of the church opened the church for me, and it was hugely emotional to walk up the centre aisle of the church and see two plaques effectively on the floor of the church, under which were the remains of the O'Neill and the O'Donnell. And it was easy to stand there and reflect that in the 4 centuries since that, the island of Ireland have been in varying degrees of conflict and turmoil. And I took a particular pride in the work that our leadership have been involved in the peace process to, as we have done in the course of recent years, totally transform both the political and the security situation here in the north of Ireland, bringing an end to war and an end to conflict. And that's something I think is one of the great achievements of this Sinn Féin leadership. And I'm very proud of every member of Sinn Féin, every Republican in every one of Ireland's 32 counties who contributed to the peaceful circumstances that our people enjoy today. Of course, there have been other challenges. The IRA ceasefire, the formation of the institutions of the Good Friday Agreement, which were about power sharing, about north-southery, about east-west. And all of the big decisions, including being part of a process which brought the Democratic Unionist Party 7-8 years ago into government alongside Sinn Féin on the basis of equality. Huge achievement, in my opinion, from which there can be no going back. And in government we've behaved very responsibly. We have been at the forefront of the drive to attract foreign direct investment to unprecedented levels. Delighted to see in the last 27 months a steady drop in unemployment levels in the north. The work of facing up to how we deal with the past, how we deal with the whole issue of flag symbols and identity, and how we deal with the issue of parades, akin to the very successful way we dealt with the issue of parades in the city of Derry, where I come from. All of this work is of huge importance, as well as the formation of the new councils, our argument that the council should be reduced from 26 to 11. After the next Assembly election, we will see a reduction in the number of departments. And all of this clearly shows and proves the ability of Unionist leaders and Republican leaders to work together to build a better future for all of us. And it's against that backdrop and many other very important decisions that have been taken that I express my disappointment that all of the positive work that we've been involved in within government at times can be totally overshadowed by things like disputes over flags or the issue of parades, particularly in the Ardoin situation. None of those two scenarios are incapable of resolution, and I think it is an imperative that they are resolved and that we all work closely together to see a resolution so that we can move forward to tackle what is a huge issue in terms of the austerity agenda that's been imposed on our people as a result of disastrous policies being propagated forward by a Tory-led administration in London. And this manifesto that we're launching today represents our absolute commitment to the electorate. It is our vow to continue to resist the disastrous agenda of Tory austerity here. It's our pledge to defend the most vulnerable, to protect public services, and deliver a new way, a better way forward for this society. So following this election, Sinn Féin will be seeking an immediate negotiation with the incoming British government to secure a viable budget to deliver public services, return economic powers to promote growth, jobs and prosperity, and to protect those most in need. We will be calling on all of the other political parties and civic society, including churches and trade unions, to stand up and stand together against austerity and for growth and equality. Any incoming British government must get the message. So we will resist austerity and cuts to our public services, our economy and our citizens. A new budget is required to end austerity, and we need the fiscal powers necessary to determine our own economic policy, to stabilise the political institutions and build on the progress of the peace process. The last point I want to make, and there's obviously considerable debate about this in England and also to a certain extent here, and that is what will the next government consist of. And I think I can say without fear of contradiction that none of the political parties here will play any key role whatsoever in the formation of the next government. It is my view that the next government in Britain will come from a configuration of the Conservative Party, the Liberal Democrats, the Labour Party and the Scottish National Party. That's where the next government will come from, and those parties here that propagate the notion that they will be in a position of influence are basically misleading the electorate. What all of the parties here need to do in the aftermath of the election is give an absolute commitment that they're prepared to stand with us and with civic society, the community and voluntary sector, with the unions, with the churches, against the austerity agenda that is being propagated by the Tory-led administration, and which Labour have indicated in the course of recent times that they are committed to also. So this is big stuff. This is probably going to be one of the most important Westminster elections in recent times. What we need to see in the aftermath of that election is all of the political parties in the north of Ireland standing together to make the case that a society emerging from conflict deserves better than what this Tory administration have been involved in the course of recent times, withdrawing 1.5 billion, 1,500 million pounds from our block grant. And now going further, as they have done in the course of recent times, and indicating that they intend to take 30 billion more from frontline services and from the most vulnerable and disabled and marginalised people within our society. So there's a big battle to be fought, and as always, Sinn Féin will be at the forefront of that battle in a very peaceful and democratic way in opposing the agenda that has been put forward, which has been so disastrous and detrimental to all of our people. Gurmila, Margo.
Gurmila
Agad Martin. Our next speaker here this morning is one of our youngest and hardest working MLAs. Probably true to say he's also probably one of the easiest on the eye. He'll provide an overview. He'll provide an overview of Sinn Féin's priorities as set out in our election manifesto, outlining our commitment to equality, opposition to austerity and plans to deliver a fair economy for all. So please welcome MLA and the next MP for Southdown, Chris Hazzard.
Just bear with me 2 seconds till we get the remote for this presentation. Thanks, Michelle, for that. Well, folks, I'm just going to run through some of the key platforms, the key priorities that's in the manifesto here today. And first up, really, we're looking at how we have built the peace and been strong advocates of such, despite massive challenges presented by the global crisis and constant austerity assault by the British government. A strong Sinn Féin team and the executive have prioritised building the peace. With a commitment to protect families and enhance local businesses, we've ensured that more than €8 billion has been invested in economic regeneration throughout our communities. We've also welcomed more than 800 international companies as they've established themselves in the north, employing more than 75,000 local people. As a result, as Martin's touched on already, unemployment has now fallen for 27 months in a row. In an effort to drive forward with increasing economic regeneration, we have successfully agreed to the transfer of powers over corporation tax. This will be the first step in repatriating all fiscal powers from a London elite and into the hands of local representatives. Sinn Féin have also consistently championed local government reform. This recent reduction of local councils from 26 to 11 and accompanying devolution of local powers will further empower local communities as we continue to build the peace. Central to this building of peace has also been the devolution of justice and policing, as we